It's not every day that a cancelled man gets a standing ovation. But leave it to Stephen Colbert, the guy who spent nearly a decade turning political chaos into comedy gold, to pull off a moment that felt like both a farewell concert and a fiery middle finger to the system. At the 2025 Emmy Awards, Colbert stepped on stage to a thunderous, sincere, full-body standing ovation that could have easily doubled as a small earthquake. And no, it wasn't just polite Hollywood clapping. It was the kind of applause you give someone you genuinely love. The kind you give when you're cheering for someone who got the short end of a corporate stick, but somehow managed to make it look like a gold medal. The context? CBS announced earlier this year that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert would be ending in 2026 after 10 seasons. Officially, the network blamed it on financial restructuring and changing market dynamics. Unofficially, well, let's just say the phrase, too political for comfort, has been whispered more than once around industry circles. Especially after Colbert's not-so-subtle critiques of CBS's parent company and their dealings with certain orange-tinged former presidents. Whatever the real reason, the cancellation stung. For fans, for the crew, probably for Colbert himself, although he'd never admitted without a punchline. But on Emmy night, that sting was briefly soothed by an entire theater rising to their feet, cheering for a man who turned monologues into missions and satire into social commentary. It was as if everyone collectively said, "We see you. We get it, and damn, we're going to miss this." Colbert, ever the showman, didn't waste the opportunity. As the applause rained down, he smiled, half surprised, half pleased, then launched into what can only be described as the world's most charming job interview. "While I have your attention," he said, pulling out an actual resume and a headshot from his tuxedo jacket, "is anyone hiring?" The joke landed hard. And not just because it was funny, though it was, but because it was real. Genuine. The kind of joke that's only funny because everyone in the room knows it's also a little bit true. With the end of The Late Show, Colbert's 200-plus staffers will be out of a job. That resume wasn't just a gag. It was a wink and a wince at the uncertainty that comes when the curtain drops. And then came the award. In what can only be described as perfectly ironic timing, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert won the Emmy for Outstanding Talk Series, its first in that category. Of course, they finally win the big one right after the network decides to cancel the show. It's like getting your dream apartment the same day your landlord gives you an eviction notice. Classic TV. Colbert accepted the award with a mix of sincerity, sarcasm, and just the right dash of spiritual angst. He thanked CBS, which, let's be honest, must have been a bit awkward, his ever-brilliant wife Evelyn, and his team, the writers, producers, camera crew, the unsung heroes who kept the monologue sharp and the coffee flowing. But then things got a little deeper, a little heavier. He talked about love. Not Hollywood love, not the kind of love you toss into a speech for applause. But real, gut punch, midnight crisis, soul-wrestling kind of love. He said that when the show began in 2015, he wanted it to be a late-night comedy show about love. A strange concept, maybe. But for anyone who's followed Colbert since his report days, not entirely out of character. He's always been a sentimentalist dressed as a smartass. And now, 10 years later, he said he finally understood what that love was, because now he was losing it. Love, he said, is often clearest when it's about to be taken away. It was a line that hit differently. You could feel it in the room. Even the seat fillers stopped scrolling Instagram. Then, as if afraid he'd gotten too heartfelt, Colbert pivoted. With a perfectly timed beat, he looked out and delivered one of the more memorable closers of the night. If the elevator tries to bring you down, punch a higher floor. Prince would have been proud. Colbert walked off stage not just with an Emmy in hand, but with something arguably more valuable, a legacy moment. One of those cultural snapshots where humor, politics, industry, and heart all collide in one unexpectedly beautiful mess. So, what does this all mean? For one, It confirms what many already suspected. Colbert's departure isn't just the end of a show, it's the end of an era. In a media landscape increasingly dominated by algorithms and ad revenue reports, Colbert was one of the few late-night hosts who didn't just follow the news, he challenged it, poked at it, sometimes lit it on fire. And he did it while somehow still reminding you that decency matters, that empathy counts, and that truth is still worth telling, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Especially if it makes people uncomfortable. His Emmy win is a little like that friend who only says, "I love you," once they've already moved out. It's sweet, a little too late, and also, maybe all the more meaningful because of it. It also raises a question. What happens next? Will Colbert vanish into the mist like some noble comedy knight who served his time and rode into the sunset? Unlikely. Will he join a streaming platform and return with some edgy new project titled Colbert After Dark? Possibly. Will he run for president in 2028 just to keep things interesting? Look, in this country, don't rule it out. But whatever happens next, Emmy Night 2025 made one thing very clear: Stephen Colbert mattered. Still matters. Will continue to matter. His show may be wrapping, but his influence, his sharp tongue, his moral compass, his ability to make you laugh and cry in the same segment, that's not going anywhere. And maybe, just maybe, that standing ovation wasn't just for him. Maybe it was for what he represented. A kind of comedy that's brave. A kind of television that's bold. A kind of truth-telling that doesn't wait for permission. So here's to the man with the headshot in his pocket, the Emmy in his hand, and 200 staffers behind him, marching into the uncertain future with grace, grit, and a damn good joke at the ready. Long live the king of late night, even if the kingdom forgot how lucky it was to have him.